Hey, this is Jim with SportsStream, and in this segment, I wanted to invite one of our system integrators, Brad from 1210 Productions, to talk about some of the recent installs he's been doing in sports production, some of the challenges that they run into all the time, and some of the great things that working with a system integrator can really benefit you in any of your sports production, live streaming, and all the great stuff that we're talking about this week. So without further ado, let me have Brad from 1210 Productions introduce himself and the company. Hey, Brad, how are you?
Thanks for having me again, Jim.
Always a
Always
pleasure.
excited
Can
to
you
be
tell us a
here.
little
And
bit about the 1210 Production Company?
certainly, 1210 Production Company started over a decade ago, and we focus on specializing in the equipment that makes LED screens work at sports stadiums. So this is predominantly the video cameras, the instant replay, the switchers, the character generators, anything that you need to make a broadcast happen, whether it's on a television, a web stream, or for the LED screen. We provide that equipment, train the high schools, colleges, professional franchises to be able to run the equipment smoothly and easily, and then we'll support them after the fact if they have any questions furthering their production.
So I know a lot of the challenges that you're going to run into is really being able to bring in the fan experience inside of these stadiums, being able to drive to the display screens, the same thing that the audience at home would be used to watching on their TV, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of it is budget driven because a lot of the teams can't say, oh, this camera brings in the direct revenue for the expense of it, where you kind of have to look at the big picture of the fan experience and see how that relates to it. And then secondarily to it is fans are used to seeing the experience of the Mets, of the Yankees, of the Rangers, and the major franchises across the country. And in a lot of respects, fans can get the same experience at their local high school or college or a venue that's a minor league team. And it's a little bit easier to capture that experience when you're a 5-year-old child who wants to get on the video board at the Phillies game. You're going to battle 45,000 people to have the camera operator select you. If you're at a minor league game, the memory is going to be the same. They're still going to see themselves on the LED screen and be able to tell their parents, their aunts and uncles, their grandparents that they were on the Jumbotron. And if that memory gets told and told and told, and now all of a sudden that experience is being story told by the customer and not necessarily the team itself.
Absolutely. And I think when you talk about the budget considerations, that budget is very different when you are talking about an in venue experience, because that is a major revenue factor of some of these minor league teams, the smaller divisional colleges, and even some of your local high schools or local sports venues. They want to provide that fan experience to the 5-year-old that wants to get on the Jumbotron, because that is a much larger part of the revenue of having the people in the stands than maybe the TV contract is going to be for an ESPN broadcast. So it becomes more and more critical to make the proper investment in those live production tools and the sports production that goes onto the Jumbotron and through the LED displays throughout the venue itself.
The customers really have to take each equipment category in and of itself and determine where you don't want to cut a corner at compared to where you might be able to take a cost savings measure. Video cameras are a great example. We typically provided prosumer level camera, whether it was Panasonic or Sony or JVC, that typically ranges somewhere between $3,000 to $6,000. Now, at the end of the day, there are features that camera has that makes it, call it a $5,000 camera, compared to a camera that NBC or ESPN is going to use that has a $30,000 to $40,000 price tag. Now, you kind of look at, okay, what are you willing to need compared to what isn't as as essential to it. A lot of times, shading is one of the things. Detachable lens is another thing that could come in there. But a lot of times, we hear from teams directly. Their first thing is they don't want to spend $50,000 on a camera, and we say, okay, great. Here are the features that you're going to get with your camera, and they say, okay, that's great. We understand it. With a low camera, it's going to become a lower knowledge base. That's it. So now you're taking a camera operator that could be paid $50 to $100 a game compared to a camera operator that needs to be paid $500 or $600 a game, and it's an easier camera for them to use. I look something like the VizRT 3Play, right? The 3P1 really revolutionized the sports replay market because it allowed 4 camera angles to be recorded, 2 angles to be played back, and at a price point that wasn't over $25,000.
Right. And everything you talk about are some of those considerations that come up in the design process of figuring out where to spend the budget and where to invest in the production. That's something that I would benefit from in working with a system integrator like 1210, where you have the expertise and experience of working with others in the industry. But you guys also offer full installation services, training and support, and you even get involved in some of the event production itself, don't you, Brad?
Yes, we do. The design aspect of it, to me, is really what makes the installation process run smoothly. If we can get involved from the beginning and formulate a question and answer with the customers, we can understand better their production requirements, whether that is a camera, replay, clip playback, intercom, wireless intercom, how many people they expect to have staff the event, do they want to have any type of a PTZ camera impact, and then ultimately, where is the production going to be used for? Is it just in stadium venue? Are we now seeing a YouTube or a Facebook stream? Is it going to go to ESPN Plus? So the potential to get over the cable system, they can really dictate different requirements for what is needed. The one of the hardest things to do is to try to install somebody else's design, and then you get halfway through and you realize the design's not going to work, or it's going to work for a year or two, and then as soon as the team wants to add in another camera or add in a wireless system, that it becomes more difficult, and then you're kind of reinventing the wheel at that point. And we really strive to be able to give our clients the room to grow, so that if you want to add a camera, you don't have to buy a new switcher and a new replay system to go with it. That we're going to give you the backbone to be able to expand your production, because the more knowledge that you have and the more games that you do, the more creative you can be. And that's kind of where the juices get flowing for adding new equipment.
Absolutely. And when we talk about those juices flowing, this is where I really like to dive in to some of the specific experiences and applications that you've had. I always ask our system integrators to talk about a couple of projects that you've had a hand in recently that you're really proud of, that you want to share some of the details, because I think that experience is what helps the audience most identify where they fit into the equation, where they can benefit from what others are doing, and how they can invest properly. Can you tell us a little bit about your recent install at Galena Park?
Sure. We were asked to renovate the production room for Galena Park Independent School District. They're a suburb of Houston. And as everybody is aware, because of the Friday Night Lights TV show, that Texas high school football is a entity in and of itself. And Galena Park has had great success over the years with the new tech TriCaster platform. They've had the TriCaster line in their production room for over a decade now, and it was an easy upgrade for us to switch them over to the latest TC1 and 3P1, and the staff, it was as if they've run that equipment for the past decade. even though it was all new computers and all new hardware. And what we did for them to kind of help build them for the future is that the current model of the TriCaster has 4 SDI inputs. They only have 3 cameras right now, of which they are using wireless and on the tripod. And we've given them 4 additional inputs via NDI converters so that they could expand as their production grows. So if they want to add in 1 camera, it's going to be okay, we only have to buy the camera. The rest of the infrastructure is there and already in place for them.
So not only did you meet their current needs, but you really gave them that path to future upgradability, giving them the flexibility. And I think that's what happens a lot of times in sports productions. The production crew will say, this is what we need today. We may be limited by budget, or really just this is the project that is on the table. But now, once you start using it, that's where all of these unique scenarios start popping up. Hey, Brad, can you give us some more cameras? How do we get the additional resource? How do we do this? And that's where installing a system like this can really help lead towards that, right?
Absolutely. A lot of the times it isn't even the intended use of the system. Maybe it's a graduation or a homecoming ceremony,
Yep,
and somebody wants to add in a laptop or play a different video or PowerPoint. And those things all, we hope to be able to say yes when we take the phone call and say, yes, our control room can do it.
that's awesome. And tell us a little bit about this Goose Creek project.
Goose Creek is about a half hour down the road from Galena Park, also in the suburbs of Houston, and a very similar setup where it was, I don't want to say a cookie cutter room. They each have their own distinctions, but the camera system was the same, the TriCaster was the same, and the 3-play was the same. Now, Goose Creek sent their production live for the first week of the football season. Galena Park will open this week as well. So they each had their own different priorities as to what was going to make the production themselves. One of the things that Goose Creek wanted to focus on was a strong wireless system. So they have 2 top of the line wireless kits that are similar to what the Mets have and the Yankees have, and we can build on that reliability of knowing that they have the ability to get anywhere within their stadium to go with it. But at the end of the day, all of these students got behind the cameras for the second time Friday night. They did one walkthrough a week prior, and then we provided our staff to be there for the first game to the public, so that as the town saw their new video board come to life, that we were there to help troubleshoot any issues that had come up, and then answer the questions of the staff as well as any of the student workers to make sure the production went as smoothly as it could.
And I think that's one of the great things that I love seeing in these photos too, is when you take a sports production in a school like these Texas high schools, and you create the equipment that the students can put their hands on and use themselves. Not only are you creating the fan experience in getting that content driven to the displays, but you're creating a student education where they are using the same equipment that the Mets and the Yankees and all these real broadcasters are using, getting that future build for what they want to do, right?
Video production has changed so greatly in terms of assets that the equipment can provide. I mean, in a lot of ways, video content can be made on cell phone today. So, I mean, when I started in this industry 20 years ago, it was a 50-pound camera, and you really had to have a strong knowledge base as to how to run it. Now, the sports production side is something that I think the best way to gain the skills is to just have experience, and trying to find a platform that allows you to fail to learn your skills. And if you kind of look at how you progress through a production team, nobody starts as the producer right away. They're typically a cable puller, then maybe a camera operator, maybe they do replay or graphics, TD, and then you eventually work your way throughout the tiered system to become the top producers. The same way you don't get to ESPN at day one. If you really want to advance through the industry, you have to have a strong network of connections as well as to be able to put your time in. There's a reason why we have over 100 media markets in the country. Some are big, some are small. A lot of times you need to start in Alaska or in Iowa or one of the smaller markets to kind of cut your teeth on the equipment. And a lot of ways, a lot of these students in Texas are getting a jump start on the. I didn't get my hands on camera until I went to college. A lot of these Texas students in the K-12 system are getting their hands on equipment by fourth or fifth grade. They're understanding what goes into a production in high school, and they're already running the TriCaster and replay for their sports stadiums. And then they're so far ahead of some of the other students by the time they get to a mass comm program.
It's absolutely true. Brad, thank you so much for sharing those stories with some of your recent installs. And of course, by introducing 1210 Production Company to our sports stream audience. One of the biggest questions we get asked is when our audience is starting to put together their project and address their production needs, when is the right time to put a call into someone like 1210 Production Company? And what are some of the questions that you're going to help walk them through in this process?
We see a lot of questions come very, very early on. And I think one of the most misguided things is trying to get a company like 12 involved too late in the process. And I say that I think the right time to reach out for a design is as soon as the school has a vision. And I think that there's always the champagne taste on a beer analogy of trying to get there, but to have a realistic budget to execute what you need can really kind of say, okay, if you need a $250,000 control room, that's one thing. We can design a control room based on that $250,000 to give you 3 or 4 cameras, the switcher, everything that you're asking for. But there may be an interest or a need to get to a $800,000 or $1.5 million control room, and just making sure we're getting the right pieces. If a customer comes to us and says that they want all Ross equipment, we're going to tell them, okay, you need more than $100,000. But depending on what they want to spend and what they need the production to be, we can easily work within a budget.
That's great to hear. Let's pull up the contact information for 1210 Production Company. Brad, thank you so much for joining us on sportstream.tv, sportstream.us. You can go there and register for this content. This video will be available, of course, on demand, and we have productions available all week long. If you have any interest in sports production and streaming, contact us today. We can connect you with Brad and his team at 1210 Production Company. Thank you so much, and stay tuned.
Thank you.